All right, so get this. We are going deep today, like way deep into Shinto. It's a religion that's like so deeply connected to Japanese culture that you almost can't even tell where one starts and the other one stops.
Yeah.
We're going to try to figure out where it all started.
Okay.
And what it's all about at its core. And get this, how it's probably even messing with your life in ways you don't even realize.
That's a good point. Because, see, what's really interesting about Shinto is, unlike, well, a lot of other religions, there's no, one single founder.
Right.
And there's not a Bible or a
holy book, yeah.
Yeah, holy book.
Yeah. And there isn't really a strict set of rules you have to follow.
Right. It's more like it's like a way of life that's been around for centuries and centuries.
Exactly. And we've got a ton of great material to work with today.
Oh, yeah.
We've got excerpts from Wikipedia, insights from the Shinto International Society, and for the real deep dive, explanations from the official website of Jinja Hancho.
What's that?
It's like the main headquarters for Shinto shrines.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
All right. So, yeah, just imagine a religion that just kind of grew naturally out of the traditions and the, deep respect for nature that the Japanese people have,
That's Shinto for you.
That's Shinto.
And speaking of nature, here's where it gets really interesting. In Shinto, they believe that there's this divine spirit or essence called kami that exists in everything, like everything. Mountains, rivers, trees, even like a tiny grain of rice.
It's true.
It's wild, right? And
this idea of kami is really, really central to Shinto. You always hear about those 8 million gods of Shinto.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yaoyorozu no kami. But it's not so much about a specific number of gods. It's more about the idea that everything has a little bit of the divine in it.
So it's not so much about worshiping specific gods, but more about recognizing that there's a universal energy.
Right, exactly. It's more like everything is connected and has this spiritual energy.
Right.
And that energy is, it's what makes everything, alive and sacred. You see.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
It is.
It makes me think about those ancient Japanese people and how their whole lives depended on the land. They lived and breathed the natural world. Their survival, depended on it.
Well, yeah, they had to pay attention to the seasons, the weather, the
everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about the good stuff either.
No.
They had to deal with storms, earthquakes, all that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's even evidence that some of these Shinto practices, they go way back.
Really? How far?
To the Jomon period.
The what?
The Jomon period.
Okay.
Which is, around 14,000 to 300 BCE. Wow. So we're talking about a long, long time.
That's crazy old. Yeah. So for thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. People have been living in harmony with nature and developing these beliefs and rituals that we see in Shinto today.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. So it wasn't just some random thing. It was a way of life that developed over centuries.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So then what about these festivals? I've heard so much about these Shinto festivals, the Matsuri.
Oh, the Matsuri?
Yeah. They sound incredible.
They're amazing.
I've seen pictures of vibrant parades, music, dancing, incredible food.
Yeah.
It looks like a total celebration of life. But what's the deeper meaning?
Well, they're a big deal in Shinto. They're a way to connect with the kami and to celebrate, life and nature.
So a thank you to the kami for all the good stuff.
Exact.
And a way to ask for good luck and blessings in the future.
Yeah, you got it. And also to strengthen the bond between the community and the kami.
Oh, that's cool. So it's a community thing. It brings everyone together.
Totally. Like you said, it's a celebration of life and everyone's invited.
I love that. So you've got spring festivals for a good harvest, summer festivals to ward off bad weather, each one with its own special rituals and meanings.
Yeah. It's not just about partying, though, there is a lot of partying.
I bet.
But it's also about recognizing that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
So it's actively participating in the natural order of things, right? Not just sitting back and watching.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're part of this grand interconnected web of life and that we have a responsibility to take care of it.
And each other, right.
And each other, absolutely. And this is actually one of the things that makes Shinto so different from some other religions. It's not just about quiet contemplation or attending services.
Right.
It's about being present in the world, celebrating life, and recognizing that there's something sacred in everything around us.
I mean, that sounds pretty amazing. But how does a religion that's like thousands of years old and comes from, Japan connect to someone like me? I live in, a totally different part of the world.
You might be surprised. Shinto actually influences our modern lives, like, way more than you might think, even outside of Japan.
Really?
Like, think about, anime and manga. Have you ever noticed how often they have, like, spirits of nature and objects that have souls?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I never thought of it like that.
It's totally Shinto. And what about Japanese budens? Those, like, super peaceful, tranquil spaces designed to make you feel totally at one with nature.
I love Japanese gardens. They're so serene. It's like you step into a different world.
Yeah, they're amazing.
It's like all your stress just melts away.
Totally. Well, they embody those, like, core Shinto principles: balance, purity, connection with nature.
And, like, it's not just about these big, obvious things either.
That's right.
I mean, think about, like, Hatsu mode. That tradition of visiting a shrine for the first time in the new year for good luck.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's huge in Japan.
It is. And those little protective charms you get at shrines, the omamori, I've seen those everywhere, like even here.
Oh, yeah, totally. They're so cute. I think there's even a shop in my neighborhood that sells them.
See?
Yeah.
Shinto is everywhere.
That's crazy. So it's like these ancient beliefs are still a big part of modern Japan.
They are, yeah.
But it makes you wonder, though, like, has Shinto, always been smooth sailing?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, it might seem all peaceful and harmonious.
Right.
But it's had its share of, challenges.
What kind of challenges?
Well, we need to talk about this period called state Shinto, where basically the Japanese government, especially in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they kind of used Shinto to push nationalism and even, militarism.
Oh, wow.
It's a tricky subject.
That doesn't sound very peaceful at all. But it sounds like that was a specific time in history, right? Not like the whole story of Shinto.
You're right, yeah. It's important to remember that. That was a specific historical context.
So, like, it doesn't necessarily reflect what Shinto is really all about at its core.
No, not at all. I mean, for example, the Shinto International Society, they really emphasize the peaceful side of Shinto, the harmony with nature,
right,
the respect for all living beings. And, those values, they feel even more relevant today than ever, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with all the craziness going on in the world.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Climate change, wars, all the division and conflict.
Yeah. The idea of finding balance, within ourselves and with nature, that's a message that really speaks to people, I think.
For sure. So, okay, we've talked about, kami, nature, festivals, but it sounds like there's more than one type of Shinto, right?
You're right, there is. Shinto isn't just one monolithic thing.
What does that mean?
Well, there's different branches, each with its own special focus.
Like what?
Well, you've got Shrine Shinto, which is all about those beautiful shrines dedicated to specific kami. Did you know that there's over 80,000 shrines in Japan?
What? Seriously?
That's crazy, right?
80,000!
It's like this huge network connecting people to their local kami.
That's wild.
And a lot of those shrines are run by the Jinja Hancho.
Oh, right, the headquarters.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Shrine Shinto. What else?
Well, then you've got Folk Shinto. That's more about the local traditions and beliefs that have been passed down through families and communities for, generations.
So, like, each village or town might have its own special customs based on their connection to nature.
Exactly. It's all about that local flavor. And then there's Sect Shinto, which involves organized groups, like, with actual founders and doctrines.
Oh, you see.
They might have slightly different takes on Shinto beliefs, but that core respect for nature and the divine, that's always there.
That's so fascinating. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The origins of Shinto, the concept of kami, the importance of nature, the history, the different forms.
Yeah.
It's clear that Shinto is like a rich tapestry of beliefs and practices with a, huge impact on Japanese culture and beyond.
Absolutely. And this is just the tip of the iceberg,
What stood out to you so far? Like anything new or surprising?
For me, it's the way that Shinto connects everything. Like, the natural world, the human world, the spiritual world. It's all woven together.
I'm with you on that. It's like this whole other way of looking at the world,
Yeah.
And what about you listening out there? What surprised you? What questions have come up for you? We'll be back in part 2 to go even deeper into Shinto's influence on, culture, history, and even the modern world. So stick around.
Welcome back to our Shinto deep dive. I hope you've had some time to think about all the stuff we talked about in part one. We were just getting started on how Shinto shows up in everyday life, and not just in Japan. Yeah, it's amazing how much Shinto shapes Japanese culture, even in ways we might not realize. Like, have you ever thought about the idea of wa?
Wow.
Yeah, wa, harmony. It's like super important in Japan.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like everyone's always so polite and respectful.
Right, but it's deeper than that, It's about like social cohesion, trying to get along, avoiding conflict.
Could that be connected to those Shinto ideas about purity and balance?
I think so. Remember how we talked about how purity and balance are tied to nature? Well, that respect extends to people too.
So it's not just about keeping the environment clean. It's also about keeping society harmonious.
Exactly. And it makes me think about another concept, motenai. It's hard to translate, but it's about not wasting anything, appreciating even the smallest things.
Oh, like being mindful of our impact on the planet.
Yes, it's like Shinto sustainability, taking only what you need, using everything completely, repurposing whenever possible.
That's a powerful idea, especially now with all the environmental problems we're facing.
Definitely. And this reminds me of how Shinto views material possessions. Remember how we said that kami can exist even in objects?
Yeah, like everything has a spirit.
Right. Well, that belief can make people treat their belongings with more respect.
Instead of just buying a bunch of stuff and throwing it away.
Exactly. It's about appreciating the things we have and taking care of them. And it makes me think about traditional Japanese arts and crafts.
Oh, yeah. Like those amazing samurai swords or the tea ceremony or those beautiful kimonos.
They're incredible, aren't they?
The craftsmanship is just mind-blowing. So much detail and precision. It's like they put their heart and soul into it.
Well, they do. It's not just about making something pretty. It's about infusing it with a spiritual essence. Like the artisans are channeling the kami into their creations.
And that attention to detail, it's not just in the traditional arts either. You see it everywhere in Japanese culture, from the food to the architecture.
You're right. It's about striving for perfection, for balance, for harmony.
So we've talked about the beautiful side of Shinto, but we also need to talk about the more challenging parts of its history. Like we mentioned in part one, that whole state Shinto thing.
Yeah, that was a dark time.
It's kind of scary how religion can be used for political purposes.
It's true. But it's important to remember that state Shinto doesn't represent the whole of Shinto.
Right. It was a specific historical context.
And thankfully, a lot of Shinto scholars and practitioners today are working hard to promote the peaceful and environmentally friendly aspects of the religion.
Like the Shinto International Society.
Exactly. They believe that Shinto has a lot to offer the world, especially now with all the challenges we're facing.
It's like with climate change and all the conflict, we need all the help we can get.
Right. And Shinto's message of harmony and respect for nature, that's something everyone can benefit from.
Totally. So besides the obvious things like, visiting shrines and festivals, how else does Shinto show up in modern Japan?
Well, do you know that a lot of Japanese businesses, even big corporations, they perform Shinto rituals?
Really? Like what?
Well, some companies have small shrines in their offices where they pray for success and for the well-being of their employees.
That's interesting. Like even in the business world, they recognize the importance of spirituality.
Yeah. It's like they understand that success is not just about making money, it's also about harmony and balance.
And speaking of businesses, a lot of those traditional crafts we were talking about, they're still going strong in Japan.
They are. It's amazing how they've managed to preserve those ancient techniques and that dedication to quality.
It's like a direct link to the past. Like those Shinto values of respect and craftsmanship, they're still alive and well.
They are. It's inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like in a world where everything is so fast-paced and disposable, it's nice to see that some things are still made to last.
It's about slowing down, appreciating the process, creating things with intention and care.
And that's something we can all learn from no matter what we do.
Absolutely.
It's funny how Western culture tends to separate everything into neat little boxes. Like religion is over here and nature is over there and art is somewhere else.
Right.
But Shinto, it's like it embraces the interconnectedness of everything.
It's true. It's not just a religion, it's a worldview.
It's about seeing the sacred in everything.
Exactly. In ourselves, in each other, in the natural world.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. But I bet some people might wonder, like, can a religion that's so tied to Japan really have something to offer the rest of the world?
That's a fair question. But I think if you look beyond the cultural stuff, you see that Shinto speaks to some pretty universal human desires.
Like what?
Like the need for connection, the search for meaning, the longing for beauty, the desire to be part of something bigger than ourselves. These are things everyone can relate to.
We all want to feel like our lives matter, like we're part of something meaningful.
Exactly. And maybe Shinto can help us find that. Maybe a religion that sees the divine in everything, from a tiny grain of rice to a towering mountain, can show us how to find our place in the universe.
I like that. It's a beautiful thought. So I guess what we're saying is Shinto is more than just a Japanese religion.
It's a way of life, a philosophy, a way of seeing the world.
And it might just have some answers for the challenges we're facing today.
I think so. And that's a perfect place to take a break. We've covered a lot of ground in this episode, from how Shinto shapes culture and business to how it can inspire us to live more meaningful lives. But there's still so much more to explore.
You know what that means.
We're back for part 3.
Get ready. Because in part 3, we're going to tackle some of the really big questions, like, can a religion this old really adapt to the 21st century?
And how can we take these Shinto ideas and apply them to our own lives, even if we don't live in Japan?
See you back here soon for the final part of our Shinto deep dive. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on this incredible journey exploring Shinto, its origins, its ideas, how it's woven into Japanese culture.
It's been quite a journey.
And beyond. But as we promised, there's more to uncover.
Yeah, we've got some big questions to tackle.
The ones that really get you thinking about, like, what does Shinto have to say to us today in the 21st century?
Because it's amazing how relevant it feels.
I know, it's like, here's this ancient religion, thousands of years old, and yet it has so much to say about the things we're struggling with right now. Like climate change, feeling disconnected from nature.
Yeah.
That search for meaning in this crazy, fast-paced world.
It's almost like Shinto knew these challenges were coming.
I know, right?
And it's offering a different way.
It's like, okay, we built this amazing technological world.
Yeah.
But a lot of us still feel empty. Like something's missing.
That connection.
Yeah. And Shinto's like, hey, come back to nature, reconnect, find your center.
Like a gentle reminder to slow down, pay attention to the beauty that's all around us.
The simple things, like a sunset or the wind in the trees or birds singing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not about, like, rejecting technology or anything.
I know.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, integrating it all.
So we can have progress without losing our connection to nature.
Because we are nature. We're not separate from it.
That's a good point. We've been getting a lot of questions from our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
And one that keeps coming up is, like, can a religion that's so deeply rooted in Japanese culture really speak to people from all over the world?
It's a good question. I think the answer is absolutely.
You do?
Yes. Because under those rituals and traditions, those things that are specific to Japan, there's something universal.
What do you mean?
Well, Shinto speaks to those basic human needs that we all have, no matter where we're from. The need to belong, to connect, to find meaning in life, to experience beauty, to feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
We all want that. We all want our lives to matter.
And Shinto offers a way to do that. It reminds us that everything is connected, that even a grain of rice, a mountain, a tree, has a spark of the divine in it.
So it's about finding our place in that web of life.
Exactly. And the more I learn about Shinto, the more I see those connections to other wisdom traditions.
Like what?
Well, the focus on mindfulness, on being present in the moment, that resonates with Buddhism.
Right.
And the idea of finding the sacred in the everyday, that aligns with some Christian beliefs.
Yeah, and the respect for ancestors, the value of community, those are things you find in so many cultures around the world.
Exactly. So in a way, Shinto is tapping into that universal human spirituality.
That recognition that we're all connected, that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Makes you feel kind of small, but in a good way.
Yeah, like humble.
Humbled, yeah.
Okay, so let's get practical for a second. A lot of our listeners are probably thinking, okay, this is all very interesting, but how can I actually live these Shinto principles?
Especially if I don't live in Japan.
Yeah, if I'm not Shinto.
I think it starts with awareness, with paying attention to the natural world.
Okay.
Really seeing the beauty of a sunset, feeling the wind, listening to the birds.
Like being a kid again,
Yes, that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And then bringing that awareness to our everyday choices. Like, how can I create less waste?
Right.
How can I take care of my things?
Make them last.
How can I be a better friend, a better neighbor?
Build a better community.
How can I live in a way that honors both myself and the world around me?
So it's about changing our perspective.
From consuming to appreciating.
From seeing ourselves as separate to understanding that we're all connected.
It doesn't have to be a huge change.
Yeah.
Start small. Spend some time in nature.
Yeah, maybe set up a little altar at home to honor your ancestors.
Or just take a moment to be grateful for the things you have.
Yeah, your food, your clothes, your home.
It's about finding those little rituals that bring you joy and connect you to something larger.
And remember, Shinto is a living tradition, right? It's not about following a bunch of strict rules.
No.
It's about finding what works for you, what helps you find that harmony and connection in your own life.
It's a journey.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Shinto, I want to leave you with this. Shinto teaches us that the sacred isn't something separate from our everyday lives.
It's not out there somewhere.
It's all around us.
Yeah.
It's in the air we breathe, the food we eat, the people we love.
It's in the sunrise, a tree, a simple act of kindness.
It's everywhere, waiting for us to notice it, to appreciate it. And maybe, if we open ourselves to that, if we really see it, we can start to heal ourselves, our communities, our planet.
It's a beautiful thought.
It's been amazing exploring Shinto with you. I hope this deep dive has inspired you to keep exploring, to keep searching for those moments of connection and wonder in your own life. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those aha moments coming.